this comes to your dad. He gave us when we started making wine. His dad tricked me into making wine with him.
Yeah, I learned
back
when
in
I was 6 years old in the garage.
Yeah,
in my house.
Yeah,
you know.
But he had three. Yeah, and you got to tell that story because it's a great story. But he gave us three like rules, and one was get really good fruit, and we were writing it down. And he was like, and two, I was like, oh, that was it. Okay, get good fruit, and then the next was a lot of love. I was like, a lot of love. And I'm like, and he's like, and third, I was like, oh, that was it, okay. And then third was like time, right? And I was like, that was it. He was like, look, if you follow those three,
make wine.
Let's make wine. But that is a lot of it because I think a lot of people get really impatient. And wine, I think we affectionately call it, or at least our wives do, it's money laundering, right? So we spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to get grapes in. And then they sit for a couple of years, and then we finally get to get it out of the barrel in the bottle, sell it, catch a couple of dollars as it flies back into buying more grapes, right? So it's one of those deals where it's just always sitting. Unlike we make beer here also, just because we were able to get a liquor license if you make beer, but neither one of us, we don't know how to make beer. My cousin does, but beer's like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is awesome. Like, you just put that in at the beginning of March. In the end of March,
totally
you got it there. It's just crazy like that, right?
So to your point, it's just like the fruit's one thing, right? But it really comes down to the winemaker knowing what to do with the fruit, right? And some people are like, it's like a chef, right? A winemaker's a chef, right?
Yeah.
And there's what's interesting is that a lot of times, being a local winery, people do ask us where we get our grapes, and we don't get them all from. We do have some Ohio fruit, right? And Jason, you'll appreciate this. There's actually a research vineyard outside of Cleveland that is owned by Ohio State, and they have free labor and a lot of money. So the fruit's amazing, right? Because they were able to work with the climate, whatever. Most winemakers don't have that amount of capital and luxury, so it's just really stringent on the grapes. So the grapes aren't going to be as good that you can get from California that has the terroir and the soil and the right, all the elements that you need, right?
Yeah.
So what we went to when we went to Ohio,
it was great because it was.
I'm gonna plug in my laptop.
We're not. Also,
we don't come from a family of winemakers. This is kind of one of those things. Think of us as like a brewery, but we make wine, and that's kind of how we go about it. So hopefully you guys enjoy it.
I was cracking up. I'm imagining the I Love Lucy episode on VCR where she's smashing the grapes with her bare feet. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Probably the number one question we get.
The number one question.
Yeah. They're like, do you stomp on your grapes? I'm like, that's so not scalable.
Like, but if we were
my legs would be massive.
Calves would be like that.
It's like,
like Papa.
Yeah, you want to go to Cleveland? I'm going to throw you on my back. We're going to run this.
Yeah.
It was.
But we do that all the time.
Yeah. So we don't do that.
Yeah. We do have a crusher and a distemmer that does that part for us.
But it is very.
But we do press though. I'm sorry, but we do punch downs by hand, right?
Yeah.
We don't have the pump over, so you go a lot of